Welcome to another exciting video. In this one, we'll learn how we can make HTTP requests with React. Now, most useful React applications involve interacting with a server to load and persist data. To do this on the web, we use HTTP request with the browser's built-in fetch API, or you may use some other open source library that's built on top of this API. HTTP requests like this are inherently asynchronous in nature, and there are also side effects. So we'll need to manage not only starting the request, but also what we should show the user while the request is in flight. In this lesson, we will use a public GraphQL server that serves up Pokemon data to load information for a given Pokemon. We will learn how to fetch that data inside a React.useEffect callback and display the results when the request completes. Now, over here, you can see that we have this app function. Now, this app function has this state being managed, which is Pokemon name and set Pokemon name. And we have this function handle submit. And over here, all we are doing is returning a div. Now, this div contains a form and a Pokemon component. The form on submit makes use of the handle submit function. And within that, what we are doing is we are calling event.preventDefault so that the page is not loaded or refreshed. And then we are calling the set Pokemon name. And whatever value we are entering in this Pokemon name text field, and this has got this ID, Pokemon name. So we are using event.target.elements.pokemon name.value, and we are setting that over here. Once that's done, we have this Pokemon component. And this component, if you observe over here on top, has this state, which is Pokemon and set Pokemon. And then, as we mentioned, that HTTP requests are asynchronous in nature, and that's why we need to make use of use effect hooks to take care of it. So what we are doing over here within this use effect is that whatever name was entered by the user, it will check first of all whether there's any name entered or not. If not, then it is going to simply return it. Otherwise, we are making use of this function called fetch Pokemon. Now, the fetch Pokemon is an asynchronous method and it returns a promise. So here, if you go inside this fetch Pokemon, what we are doing is we are creating a GraphQL statement over here, and then we are passing this data, the query data, to this fetch method that we have. So we have the URL, the method, the headers, the body, and within that body you will see the query is being passed over here as Pokemon query, and then we have the variables over here, the name that we entered. So for this particular name we have this query, and based on that the data will be returned, and here we have the data returned by this fetch call. Now once we have that data, what we are doing is we are getting that data and we are using the set Pokemon state to set that data. And since this is totally dependent on the Pokemon name, we are passing it as a dependency array in the React.useEffect hook. And if user has not entered any name, then the submit a Pokemon text will appear. And once you have clicked on the submit button, we will be showing this value till the data is not returned by the server. And finally, whatever data is returned, we are formatting it and stringifying it. So here we have the data, and then we are providing the tab spaces that we need in that data set that is being returned. So if I now go ahead and type some Pokemon name and click on submit, you'll notice when it's in flight, it's showing 3 dots, and then we have the result coming from the server, and we are getting the result over here. So this function that we have makes use of the fetch API, and based on that, we are then getting the result for a given Pokemon.